All right, I think we're done. We're done. We're ready. We're set. Hey. All right. So here's an interesting note for today. It's conquering adversity is what gamers do, right? Well, at one point last year, I spent maybe about like 2 months. No, I apologize. At one point, well, this is last year, yes. The first couple of months of last year were a bit off. The reason for that is because like, we were kind of doing bombs and shit, as almost always the case here in this country. But the first few months, it was a bit, I don't know, being shaken off your kind of like your spot has an interesting, has an interesting kind of like, I don't want to say effect because at the moment, wherever something kind of like happens, that forces you to look at the world differently. The reason I say it forces you to look at the world differently is because, like literally, it's the shaking part. Everything is shaking, and then you kind of like either wait for everything to settle down and then continue doing what you normally did, or kind of realize how this shaking kind of like how long it took, what fucking happened within it, and kind of like what the structure in how you approach it, so that whatever you were doing before, because like again, we all go back to doing what we did before anytime there's kind of like an event that happens in our life. But any event happening in our life is impactful on how we see the world, how we engage with the world, and it should apply to everything. But the problem is we kind of like isolate them. I don't know. Yeah, it is a problem. Fuck yeah, it is a problem. But we isolate them. We isolate them to where they exist and the things they directly connect to. We don't use ourselves as the core of the interaction. We don't use ourselves as the point of like, no, this happened. Okay, now this happened to me. Sorry, with me, around me, within my observational environment. So, so the way, so the interaction now I have with the world, kind of like has this extra layer or extra kind of like bonus point. And I discussed it yesterday because like you explore something and you kind of like go in that direction. And as you go in that direction, the minute you look back, what happens is it kind of like it connects and it spreads as far as possible from a volumes perspective in order to encapsulate the things that are connected to it, the things that are kind of like further away, and it kind of gives you an uneven sphere for you to kind of like because you're not going around a flat circle of experience. You're going through random things of experience, and eventually they kind of like build up and then combine into like a more solid thing in between, a more solid sphere that kind of like encapsulates who you are as an individual, who you are, because like I'm under the belief that the ego is built actively, not passively. In the first years of your life, you're built actively. The difference between I and me, right? And since the self is kind of like the engine in between us, so like the me, myself, and I, that combination is kind of like a relationship that could go either way. It could be I, myself, and me, or it could be me, myself, and I. It could just be me and I, where I'm instantly affected by something, or I and me, where I'm instantly kind of like manifesting a new personality. And I imagine these kind of like connections are the key to our existence. But the reason I was saying this is because, like, it's funny enough, it made me reflect on the time where I was like writing this note. It's like, conquering adversity is what gamers do. And what I'm talking about is the time where there was adversity. So that was basically when we were bombed. And that basically was the time where I was kind of like, I don't know, writing about how gamers should conquer adversity. And effectively, what I'm doing right now is kind of reflecting on that adversity in a gamed approach because gamers, I jumped, it didn't work, I have to jump from here. It's gaming, whatever you're doing. And that's the gaming aspect or the gamification aspect of whatever it is that you're kind of like, of your existence. So if you look at characters in a game, effectively everything they do kind of like impacts them. It reduces the health, increases the health, reduces stamina, increases stamina, gives them an added skill. That's a game structure. And the thing about that is everything is recorded, but it's recorded in a very, it's recorded and you kind of have access to it. You have access to utilize it. We're not trained this way as we grow up. What happens is as we grow up, we kind of like, we are absorbing everything, just like a character in the game. Everything we interact with, every small event, we're kind of like, it's kind of clicking with us. And but we don't have a way to kind of like access it, or we're not able to kind of like get out of the funk of our mind as we kind of like proceed with these kinds of things. So growing up, most of us, or at the very least, like the way I'm looking at it now, would have been super intense if there would have been some form of support for us to explore more and understand feedback more. But I'd imagine society in its own existence is constrained simply because it was it had to develop with the bare minimum in mind, since everyone was not really like in since everyone was not really like in cohesion, in harmony. Like yes, everyone tries to kind of like build people together, but in truth is like when people speak about the same thing, are they really like reflecting on the same thing? Are they really thinking about the same thing? Are they really like understanding the same thing? It's all kind of like subjective. But going back to it, it's like it was a time of adversity, and this was kind of coming out. Now that I reflect on it, I kind of like look at gamers and I go like, okay, their entire job to reach the next level is the game, is to consider different things. And it's funny this came because yesterday, like somebody shared a game with me, and the game is called You versus You. And the idea is like you kind of like have the first choice more. You have the first, let's just say you have a level, and there's you, and you go to on the other side, and then you win. And after you win, basically, you have to be the villain and stop the you that's coming in from entering. And so weirdly, so every single time you're kind of like you go in one direction, and then you on the other side you have to like, and then you wait, like when you win, you wake up on the other side, and now you're the villain that has to stop you. So like you that's going there. And the idea is every time there's a you that's winning, there's another villain that's added because you are going to be basically stopping you with the previous version of who stopped you. And if you think about it this way, you kind of like it's a very creative way for us to approach this world because every day we wake up and the only thing standing in our way is basically the patterns of our thoughts and the actions basically that we never take. And all of these, I've talking about them once. They're kind of like built up characteristics over like the uh, uh, holy shit. Okay, I'm remembering a lot. Listen, in essence, there's your voice, and after that, there's every single. As you have grown up, you have heard many people and been impacted by many people and by others and as incidents and events and like traumatic responses and PTSD shit, all these kinds of things. You have been surrounded by that. Like everything could be. Right? I remember when I was a kid, I was watching my dad play golf, and I was watching right at the edge of where he shoots, basically, and then he basically swings and pops me in the head. He's like, fuck man, that's an incident. Everyone was trying to be cute, and like everyone was like trying to have a nice picnic, and I kind of like fucked everyone over. So all of these are incidents, and every one of them kind of like adds to a layer, adds a certain kind of like response or egotistical characteristic to who you are. And as you kind of like develop in the world, if you're not processing these kind of like, I don't want to say splits, but I want to I want to say that as we grow up and expand through these kind of like, through these developed characteristics, whether you were yelled at by your mom and then your brain started basically being angry. And then by being angry, it kind of like stuck around. And then after a while, there's calm you and angry you. There's not you, there's calm you and angry you, right? But there's, so like, so that as a process truly allows, so if you're playing the game and it's you versus you, then ultimately, like, what you're doing is you're kind of like standing in front of every single version of you that was created because of something you did, or that was created because of something that you didn't do. And the you has to basically like absorb that and basically just completely win. And winning is not destruction more than it is a full empathy, full understanding, and a full connection with why and how it became a thing that existed. And by doing that, then you definitely you'd be dissolving them and absorbing the relationship built or the engagement that was built. So it is always you versus you. But that's basically like that's you being a gamer in your own life. That's you basically like playing the game with life, where you're kind of like you're one upping yourself in order to do better, and then to kind of like build whatever it is you're building. Yeah, it's kind of fun. I would definitely want to do a part two around this. Gotta go. Love you. Bye.